Hello there, everyone. I know this was a unusually late kind of off the cuff, rather immediate live that I decided to stream. So I'm going to trust that those that need to hear this are going to hear it and they're going to see it and partake in it in the time that they are meant to when you awaken in the morning. By the time you awaken in the morning, we will be in full swing of the both the solar flare CME, and we'll talk about that momentarily, as well as the Aurigid Meteor Shower at full height. Um, it'll be its strongest with the most meteors. The Charioteer will truly be rising at that point by tomorrow morning. Well, actually, it's been going on most of the day today, but we're going to still see some rather significant things happen. And there's been some significant things that have happened today in the ethers, if you've been paying attention, if you've been recognizing and feeling the energies as it has been today. So I know September 1st is today, and it's interesting because my own timeline personally feels like it's August 31st still. It doesn't feel like it's September 1st. It doesn't feel like it's any particular day, I guess, in general. It feels as if today time stood still. Or it was just so weird that the fluctuations in the timelines, they were pretty apparent today. So, what I want to do is I want to go over what occurred today. I want to talk a little bit about how this happened already once in 2012. And then I want to talk about what we can expect moving forward because, as you guys probably remember, I hope you do, I did a September discussion about all the astronomical events happening and how that then translated to the astrological events thereafter. So, this is a tad bit of a continuation and an update of this. And I've just been here and there receiving further instruction. So let's look at a couple of things. Okay, I'm going to share something with you guys. Bear with me 1 second. Bear with me and let me see, maybe not. Hang on. I actually, you know me, I like to create things. So I created a little bit of a PowerPoint here. You know me and my PowerPoints if you guys have been here. Hey, thanks to everyone that's here with me tonight on this late night. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you clicking on this today. And hopefully, those of you that are watching the replay tomorrow will gain some good knowledge from this. I want to talk about what's going on right now. And it's still, the solar storm is still affecting us. But I want you to understand what a solar storm truly is. And this is from NASA. Solar storms are a variety of eruptions of mass and energy from the solar surface. So they can be flares, prominences, sunspots, and coronal mass ejections. I want you to understand it's not just a solar flare that we're experiencing right now. It is a coronal mass ejection. Are the harbingers of solar activity. They all involve sudden releases of stored magnetic energy, which accelerates the hot gases near the surface or in the corona of the sun. Sometimes these particles make it all the way to Earth and beyond by flowing along the sun's magnetic field into interplanetary space. The same charged particles can produce their own magnetic fields, which can modify, I want you to look at this, modify the Earth's magnetic field and affect compass readings. Now, why am I sharing this? Why is this important? I'm sharing this with you today because I want you to understand a couple of things, and we're going to talk about this even further, but I want you to hear me. Coronal mass ejections. I want you to remember that coronal mass ejections. We're going to go further here. It then ends up setting in place or sending to us magnetic energy that changes the earth. It alters the earth. So I want you to we're going to talk about what happened in 2012, because this happened already in 2012, guys. I hope you guys can see this. Let me look on my phone. Just bear with me. I want to be sure you can see this as I read this article to you. This is all very important. We have to pay attention to the actual astronomy, because astrology is the spiritual interpretation thereof. So we got to pay attention to this, and we got to know what's happening here. All right, you guys can't see this. Let me start the share again. Let me go over here and share this window. And we're going to go here, and we're going to go here, and we're going to share this window. I want you to see this. It's very important. Back in 2012, I don't know if you heard about this, but there was a solar superstorm in July of 2012. This article is written by NASA. You can see that, published on July 23rd, 2014. And it reads as follows: July 23rd, 2014. If an asteroid big enough to knock modern civilization back to the 18th century appeared out of deep space and buzzed the Earth Moon system, the near miss would be instant worldwide headline news. 2 years ago, so then in July of 2012, the Earth experienced a close shave, just as perilous, but most newspapers didn't mention it. The impactor was an extreme solar storm, the most powerful in as much as 150 plus years. If it had hit, we would have still been picking up the pieces, says Daniel Baker of the University of Colorado. And this is a kind of guide to how this actually looks, right? This is how this looks. The solar storm. Let me go back. As it would have swirled around, so Earth was here, and the solar storm basically just barely, the main part of it just barely missed it. Baker, along with colleagues from NASA and other universities, published a seminal study of the storm in December 2013, the December 2013 issue of the journal Space Weather. Their paper, entitled "A Major Solar Eruptive Event in July 2012," describes how a powerful coronal mass ejection, a CME, tore through the Earth orbit on July 23rd, 2012. Now, what I want to do here, and let's see if we can do that. Let's see if I can do this. I'm going to actually go and look at a calendar. Let me see if I can pull it up. We're going to try, guys. Let's see here. Let's go back. I think I might be able to grab a 2012 calendar. Hang on one second. We're going to look at the at the stars on that day. July, July. We're going to look at the moon phase. You know, I love to refer to the moon phases. July 23rd, we're going somewhere with this, guy, so just hang with me. Okay, here we go. Let's go back and share this one now. We're going to share Chrome tab. I think this one. Yep. I want you to look what was going on July 3rd of 2012. 23rd of 2012. We were at the beginning of Leo at that point. The sun was at the beginning of Leo. That's the circle with the dot in the middle. Mercury was in retrograde in Leo as well. We had Uranus in retrograde up there in Aries, much like it's in retrograde right now in Taurus. We had Jupiter in another air sign, this time in Gemini, Venus in Gemini. The south node, was in Gemini, north node in Sag, moon in Virgo, Mars opposing Uranus again, except for this time Mars was opposing Uranus this time, and that was in Libra. So we had this very interesting air sign situation where we had a trining of Jupiter and Venus with Mars and Saturn. Saturn was in Libra as well. We had Pluto in retrograde in Capricorn. You know, it just hangs out there for years. And Neptune was in retrograde at that point in the early stages of its transit through Pisces. When I look at this chart here, this is what I see. I see there's this massive desire for creativity and awakening. You had the Sun and Mercury trining Uranus in retrograde. At that point, and in Leo, and at that point, to me, what that was, it gave birth to what we call it now the First Great Awakening. A lot of, this was supposedly the time, according to the Mayan calendar, where the world ended, didn't go any further past. Now, there's some people that are saying that 2012 in the Mayan calendar is really 2020. I might purport to you that maybe the world did change on that date. Maybe what started on that date, when that massive coronal, right? That coronal energy came and hurtled towards the earth, and it was a near miss. And another article I read, it said that it missed by 9 days, basically, because the sun, if you did not know, rotates on its own axis every 25 days. So the sun has its own axis that it rotates on, which moves the solar system through, during the rotation, through the rotation of the Milky Way as well. So while we rotate around the sun is rotating on its own axis. Every 25 days, the moon's rotation around the earth, lunation cycle, takes 28 days. So quite similar in length of time. So every 25 days, basically, just about every lunation cycle, we're seeing every aspect, every side of the earth. The sun. Every side of the sun is seen. And I'm going to translate that back over here to the sun. From the moon's perspective, this is a moon phase calendar. So if you were born on this date at this time, from that perspective, you would have been born with Leo and Mercury in your 12th house sun. That's that place of deep, deep, hidden spiritual knowledge. It can also be a place of deep illusion. It can also be a place of deep imagination. You were born there. However, you weren't sure how to process that information, Mercury in retrograde. You weren't really sure how to communicate it. You weren't sure how to integrate it into your intellect, but you knew creatively you had to. And you knew creatively something new was happening. And that was trining at that time. Uranus in retrograde in Aries in the 9th house. A realization, a recognition, a remembrance of who we were as individuals in the midst of a collective revolution. I'm going to propose to you that perhaps the world ended that day and New Earth was born. I'm going to propose that. I'm going to propose on that same day when we see that Jupiter is trining Mars directly and that Venus in Gemini is trining Saturn in Libra, Mars and Saturn in Libra, Jupiter, and Venus in Gemini. I'm going to propose to you that at that date, there is a gift given to our intellect, a gift given to our mind, our third dimensional self, our fifth dimensional self, and higher dimensional selves were awakened. We were given a love and a desire for a just, fair, integral, dare I say, righteous structure. We were given that love for that and that push and that desire towards it. I'm going to propose to you that the other gift that we were given that day was the fight for it, the desire to fight for it, the desire to live it out, and the energy and the ability to push forward in it, to push forward in all aspects of it, to make it happen and to have it created within. The opposition of Mars to Uranus in retrograde in Aries, that understanding of who we are within the position of the collective and the revelation thereof, the remembrance thereof. And we absolutely had to remember it in order or begin the remembrance as a collective on an individual level, piece by piece, portion by portion of the collective, member by member, in order for justice to be brought, in order for the new earth to be created, in order for things to happen. This is what was going on that day. This is what was happening. And it looks to me like we had even had a T-square here with Pluto in retrograde in Capricorn. There was a lot of upheaval in our monetary funds and the way in our economy, personal transformation. And we were just beginning Jupiter square Neptune, just beginning to have an understanding of how imbalanced and how uncollaborative certain forces are against us. How the great lie had been created. This is what happened in 2012. This is the beginning of a chart of a great awakening. And a lot of us, Moon in Virgo, square, Venus in Gemini, a lot of us were challenged. Our emotions were challenged because those things that we felt that we loved at that time, those things we had been taught to love at that time, those things we had thought to be healthy, those things and concepts and ideas that we thought were real and were true and were going to take us to the next level, that was going to be who we were going to be forever. All of a sudden, all of that was challenged. Now, some of us may not have gone through our awakening back in 2012. Some of us, it took us a little bit longer, but the creation was there. The beginning of the creation was there. The idea, the energy was planted in the coronal crown chakra of the collective. The light workers, the star seeds, the earth angels all began to wake up. Even if you didn't do it then, and even if it took you till just now. This began back in 2012. This was the first portion of the ascension. This was the kickoff. And we can say, well, we didn't enter into the age of Aquarius until the end of 2020 at that great conjunction. But I believe that it takes some time for us to transition. And if I'm looking at what happened in 2012 at the last sunstorm, at the last CME, right? If I'm looking at that right now, today, I have to say that I firmly believe this was the kickoff point where finally our minds began to realize we could indeed escape the matrix. You know, a few years after that movie was out, the whole trilogy, showing us a bit of a blueprint, giving us a bit of an idea. However, we were beginning to awaken to the fact that there wasn't just one, but we were the one in unity, waking up, recognizing that there were more that were going to wake up. Now, let's go back. We're going to be flipping back and forth, guys. So I very much apologize. It's kind of sorry, not sorry. Okay. Let's go back to our near miss article. Baker, along with colleagues from NASA and other universities, published a seminal study of the storm in the December 2013 issue of the journal Space Weather. Their paper, entitled A Major Solar Eruptive Event in 2012, describes how a powerful coronal mass ejection tore through Earth orbit on July 23rd, 2012. Fortunately, Earth wasn't there. We missed it by 9 days. The number 9 is quite significant, is it not? Instead, the storm cloud hit the Stereo A spacecraft. I have come away from our recent studies more convinced than ever that Earth and its inhabitants were incredibly fortunate that the 2012 eruption happened when it did. If, says Baker, if the eruption had occurred only 1 week earlier, the Earth would have been in the line of fire. Extreme solar storms pose a threat to all forms of high technology. Pay attention. They begin with an explosion or a solar flare in the magnetic canopy of a sunspot. X-rays and extreme UV radiation reach Earth at light speed, ionizing the upper layers of our atmosphere. The side effects of this solar EMP include radio blackouts and GPS navigation errors. Minutes to hours later, that's when the energetic particles arrive, moving only slightly slower than light itself. Electrons and protons, accelerated by the blast, can electrify satellites and damage their electronics. Then come the CMEs, billion-ton clouds of magnetized plasma that takes a day or more to cross the Sun-Earth divide. Analysts believe that a direct hit by an extreme CME, such as the one that missed Earth in July 2012, could cause widespread power blackouts, disabling everything that plugs into a wall socket. Most wouldn't even be able to flush their toilet because urban water supplies rely largely on electric pumps. I also want you to notice this. Intense geomagnetic storms ignited northern lights as far south as Cuba and caused global telegraph lines to spark, setting fire to some telegraph offices and thus disabling the Victorian internet. So in 2012, the Victorian internet was disabled. Beloveds, what also happened during that time? Was that not the rise of the King James Catholic Church, Church of England, Lutheran Church, this Victorian era where we were run by kings and monarchs? Interesting, yes? The time where we felt we needed salvation and saviors, the time where the era where masculine energy became rather toxic at its height, or should I say, just toxic, and a patriarchy was instituted in a very great way all across the lands of the lands. Women were, in one sense, celebrated for our reproductive abilities, but denigrated for others and made second class citizens fully. In 2012, I will say to you again, it is my purport. I am in my hypothesis that 2012 indeed was the end of the world as we knew it. And that for the last 9 years now, we have been living in the beginnings of new earth, that we have been living in the beginnings of the end, that we have been living in the beginnings of the age of Aquarius, and that we have been living in the beginnings of the fall and the denigration of the matrix. I'm just putting that out there. Just saying. So I want to talk a little bit more about what we're talking about here, and then I want to talk about the spiritual significance of solar storms. Here we go. Let's go back to our little PowerPoint presentation we got going on here. What are we talking about? So coronal crown. Coronal crown. Corona means crown, right? Right? Look it up. You don't believe me. Mass injections send high frequency, high energetically charged plasma towards the earth. Done by the sun. These injections are coming from the sun. Electrons, protons, electromagnetic energy just below the frequency of light. Just below the frequency with which our eye can see. I would say some of them may be too fast for us to see. Other dimensional energy coming towards the earth. Mass injection, injection, mass ejection of crown chakra energy coming towards the earth by the sun, the life initiator, the masculine energy. This is why it's so very important for us to understand the masculine and the feminine. This is so very important for us to understand that we have both in all of us. I don't care how you present in this earth, that you have both masculine and feminine together. And it takes both to be a creator, a creatrix. Well, we've talked about whether or not it takes both to be a creatrix, but let's move it right along. Done by the life initiator, the masculine energy, or your solar plexus. Your solar plexus represents your own personal sun. You have your own personal universe, your own personal solar system going in your chakra system. Your energetic being itself is set up and constructed in the same way the solar system is. Only sometimes you refuse to see it. There's representation of all the energies within you. The sun is your generator. The sun is your initiator. The sun is your inspirer. The sun is your battery pack. The sun is your seat of power. The sun, without your sun, you would not be. Without the sun, there would be no life on this earth. Not in the way we know it. In 2012, what happened is that there was such a thinning of the Earth's shield. If you remember, those of you that, how do they say it, that were outside, you might remember that they had been talking for many years about the Earth's atmosphere and the thinning of the Earth's atmosphere. This is why we have so much so much stronger UV rays coming through. Yeah. The UV rays, ultraviolet rays, and other radiation, as they say, from the sun, beaming through, beaming in. And this is why they've told us, oh, this is why you burn. You got to go inside. And this is bad. But at the same time, they're still steady destroying it. But is it really that they're destroying it, or are they just helping us out as light beings? I will tell you, get out into the sun. The veil is non-existent and thin at best. Done by the sun, the life initiator, the masculine energy. Are you igniting your own solar plexus? This is coronal energy that was meant to, over these next few days, to shoot through you. The Victorian internet was destroyed at this point. The last time this happened in 2012. Intensive electromagnetic energy electrifies everything, intensifies the northern lights. It intensifies the aurora, or the Earth's aura. The Earth's aura is being intensified. Throughout this process, we can see her. Gaia's aura being intensified throughout this whole time period. Throughout what's going on right now. Right now. Now, the spiritual meaning of solar storms, I want you to know this. That as the Earth's shield has been thinned or disturbed, great disturbances. There was a great disturbance in 2012 to the Earth shield, and it caused it to allow more frequency from the sun to penetrate right through the energetic fabric. That's when we received this big boost of energy that caused so many souls to awaken spiritually. Now, as the solar storms continued, the Earth's magnetic field has been slowly altered, changed. The Earth shield, though, kind of went up a little bit more, was blocking a lot of the sun's impact on the Earth. So our magnetic field has been changing here. The polarity is changing here on this Earth. And it's been slowed down because the shield kind of got stronger a little bit, right? We did a lot of different things with the climate and things. But also, I will tell you that had that same solar energy been allowed to just bombard us, everything would have awakened way too fast. No one could have handled it. We needed to learn to swim in it. We needed to learn to walk in it. We needed to learn to live in it. As the Earth's magnetic field, the elevation of that changes, as the polarity shifts and widens, we begin to rise closer and closer to 5D. so that we can operate in a new magnetic field. This is really scientific. And I know a lot of people are going to have been bringing you this information in a very esoteric fashion, but I'm trying to marry the two for you guys. I'm trying for you guys to see that what's happening in real time or 3D real time is actually orchestrating, enabling, assisting, all by design, the Earth's ascension. Now, some believe that in 2019, as we went through a real huge, I mean, a lot of people really were understanding ascension and actively awakening and actively raising their vibration. Some people believe that the Earth's field jumped into 5D energy back in 2019 fully. And that allowed us as an Earth to sustain higher dimensional, higher frequency energy. So that happening potentially, again, I'm not sure how I feel about that yet, and we'll channel a message here in a moment. I do believe that it's easier for us to walk in 5D. For us to walk in a dual dimensional reality. We still have third dimensional experience though, because it's the only way that we can at this point stay here. Right? Because the whole earth itself has not moved up into this crystalline grid. And I believe that crystalline grid is probably higher than 5D. Probably. It's a different frequency grid that requires humanity to operate differently, potentially physiologically operate differently, I believe. But every one of these solar storms, and this one that we experienced today, if you allowed it to, for some of us, it was somewhat imperceptible because we're used to it. But for others, if today was like, oh my goodness, internet's not working right. There's a lot of things probably not working right. Excuse me. Telecommunications was a little more difficult today. I think we're going to see it more difficult throughout between now and the 5th. I don't think we've seen the full ramifications of what happened. But today was an absolute mass injection from the coronal mass ejection of higher dimensional 5D awakening energy. There are a lot of things that came out today that I don't know that we were ready to see before today. There were a lot of truths that came out today all over the internet. And there's going to be more all throughout September because the covers are being ripped off. The blinders are being taken off. And it's time for us to see all as we should, or at least a good chunk of it, and for us to be able to make accurate and intelligent decisions. And by intelligent, I mean esoterically and spiritually intelligent. If you're allowing yourself to be awakened, ascended, if you're allowing yourself to raise up to higher dimensional life and living and wish to begin to experience that, I believe this meteor shower and then the rest of September is going to give you that energy to do so. I firmly believe that this was a jolt, that this was a boost of energy, that this was a jump start to your battery. Because you see, when the higher vibrational energy comes to us like it did today, it activates DNA, changes the DNA. It cleanses and clears and reforms it with beautiful crystalline energy, with high dimensional, high frequency, clean energy, if you will, reprogramming you, upgrading you. And because the solar storm is going on until the 5th, and that meteor shower we were talking about, I'm going to go over that real quick, goes on to the 5th. You have between today and the 5th, which on the 6th, I believe, is the new moon. You have between today and the 5th, before the new moon, to really, really integrate this energy and to step into it fully, and don't be afraid of it. Yep, September 6th at 7:51 p.m. Central is the height of the new moon. So, and interestingly enough, that will be in Virgo, of course. The moon will have left Leo. So it will have left the sign. Remember back in 2012 where all this happened and the sun was there? This time the sun is in Virgo. So this is why I believe while this is happening to us, that this truly means a change in our uh, mental, physical, spiritual, emotional well-being, our physical body, our physical health. This is what we were ushering in, and changes on a global scale. Now, I want to show you where. I want to remind you about a couple of things here. This meteor shower. Remember we talked about the meteor shower? Hello, everybody. We talked about the meteor shower. Aurigid meteor shower. Why don't you take a look at this for me? It was at its height today. But notice the meteors when they come in, that what happens is they're coming in towards the earth, and you can't necessarily see them. To me, it almost looks like this energy is kind of reflecting off of the earth, right? And so we kind of reflectively are looking, and you really got to look kind of straight ahead in order to truly see it. Like, allow the light to come around and surround your peripheral. All the meters associated with any particular shower appear to radiate from a common point in the sky. Remember we talked about this Aurigid meteor shower. And remember the Auriga, the Charioteer, okay? The Charioteer constellation is attached to Taurus alongside Gemini. And this meteor shower is going to be kind of coming through Orion and potentially it's going to become coming past Sirius. That's pretty significant. Because let's look at the chart. Here's our sun. This time it's trining. Well, it was the last time too, wasn't it? The last time we did the solar flare, the sun was trining. The sun was trining Uranus in retrograde. This time they're in Virgo and in Taurus. This time it's not about how are you going to recreate yourself in your rebirth. This time it's also about how are you going to healthily, immediately, knowingly change yourself and make the adjustments for you to be the best and healthiest you in the midst of the collective. Changing your perspective about what you have and how you get it. Changing your perspective of how you create and how you manifest. Changing your perspective about what it means for a collective, for an individual within a collective. How do you operate within that? Again, sun in the 12th house. This is if you were born today. Sun in the 12th house. This is from a spiritual standpoint. This time, Mars is opposing Neptune. So this time, see, the last time Mars challenged you to be balanced in who you were as far as the collective was concerned. Remember? And it was like, it was opposing Uranus, but it was really challenging you to change, like make this awakening change, right? This time it's challenging you and your beliefs. This time it's challenging you to, are you going to accept your assignment? This time it's challenging you, are you going to accept the imaginations, the beliefs, the dreams, the knowing? That's what it's challenging you to do this time. This time, are you going to question when people say, oh, no, I'm going to take care of you as a person or as an entity or as a group? I've been telling you the truth the whole time. I've been telling you what's good for you the whole time, what's best for you and your own health, for you and your own life. Mars is challenging you this time to say, no, 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 no. We got to have to make some adjustments here because this ain't working for me. Mercury is again squaring the moon again. Moon's hanging out in Cancer, chilling at home in the 10th house if you were born today. Wow. Mercury is in the first house, squaring it. In Libra. Who are you? What keeps you in balance? And are you doing it? 10th house energy. Is that really satisfying you? Is that really where you should be? Globally, is this really where you should be? Is this really what you should be doing? Is this really how the monetary system is supposed to work? Is this really how your career system is supposed to work? Is this really what the heck you should be doing right now? Or are you really honestly in balance? And again, I told you this earlier because that meteor shower, beloveds, is happening right over here. And on the chart, it's at the opposite of the galactic center in Sagittarius. However, it's also going to be in the vicinity of Orion and Sirius, which are very huge representations of higher collective thinking. And those of you that may know your starseed originations, this is really the big gifts being given to humanity and gifts being reviewed. We're on a bit of a pause at this point. We've been given a lot. We've been given a lot of knowledge. We've been given a lot of downloads. We've been given a lot of updates. We've given a lot. Now it's on a pause moment so that those that have already been gifted with this and understand this is what they've been gifted with, that they can come out and actually say it. They can come out and actually do it. They can come out and actually help others figure it out for themselves, that they are gifted and they can have healing and they can do all these things. Because I'm telling you, people are going to be sitting here going, what the heck just happened? They're saying that now in complete disbelief that what they thought was true was not. What they thought they could trust and they can't. What they thought they could believe in, they can no longer. It doesn't hit the same anymore. It doesn't help anymore. The Charioteer is ushering in fantastic, amazing, completely life changing energy. Crown chakra, recognition of who you are in the ethers, recognition of who you are as an awakened being, recognition of who you are as a spiritual being, but it is also ushering in, and while it's raising that frequency, it's ushering in a greater degree of darkness because the polarity must always be balanced. This is by design. This is a necessity in order for the earth to continue on in its evolutionary stages, becoming a new earth. We're on a pause, we're on a review, we're on a, if you're having a lot of lucid dreams, if you seems like there's been a lot of visitation in your dream and travel, yeah, that's right. True. It's what you've been doing. Because you need to know these things, you need to see these things, you need to hear these things. You need to operate in this in a very full manner and stop fighting it. You're being shown this for a reason. Stop asking for something new until you figure out how to use what you have now. Mercury trining Saturn in retrograde in Aquarius. You've been given advances. Some of you have been given advances. Some of you have been given great, great understanding and knowledge. Some of you have been awakened to these are the things you know you must do, and you're not doing a god darn thing with it. When are you going to move? When are you going to wake up? When are you going to act? This doesn't get any easier. This doesn't get any easier if you keep fighting against the flow. There cannot be a greater outpouring just yet until there's a clearing. This is what I hear. There shall be, there will be, there is, there. The future is the present is the past. We're going to need to bask in this energy as awakened ones. Back into the sun as much as possible. The reason why they keep talking about blocking him out. Get out into the sun and soak it up. Soak up the rays, soak up the electromagnetic energy. It is charged up for you. Because believe me, those that are on the opposite polar spectrum will be attempting to harness it as well. It is quite strong at night when there's no moon to reflect and only the still darkness. Quite strong. We're in a great pause. If you've been having trouble figuring out what day it is, I honestly thought today was the 31st of August. I knew it wasn't, but part of me felt like it was. I feel like I'm on a standstill. I want you to look at, let me actually stop sharing this one. I want to show you another screen. I want you to see where this is going. I want you to see it. See it in the stars. Here's a star map. See this? It's going to come through the Orion belt and past Sirius. Now, I'm going to tell you what the significance of Orion is. Orion, the Orion spiritual meaning, it relates to the constellation of Orion and the star seeds that arrived from there. Every ancient civilization, in every one, this constellation played a central role in religion, culture, and science. Every time there's a number of symbolic meanings that have come to light over and over and over all the millennia. This star system helped to formulate humanity. It symbolized many things, many gods, many mythical figures throughout every civilization. In Egyptian, there are pyramids that are intricately aligned with this constellation as points of communication. Orion signifies enlightenment. It helps, the energy of Orion helps usher us into a new age. It brings us logic. It helps us to formulate our own opinions. It renews our desire for knowledge and seeking that knowledge out. And it makes us extremely sensitive towards energies around us. It is the constellation, the system for spiritual wisdom and enlightenment and ascension, cosmic wisdom and spiritual knowledge. Now, Sirius has been very well known again throughout all of the ancient civilizations, and it's been represented and sometimes called God. The Sirian solar system, star system, is tremendous, triple the size, right? It has Sirius A and Sirius B, which outshine our own sun 10 times over, right? Sirius A does. Sirius B is a dwarf star. Humongous, huge. It was considered by the ancient Egyptians to be the most important star. And it was also a foundation of their entire religious system. And as we have more electrical energy here on Earth, our rotation changes, the speed of the Earth's rotation changes, the wobble changes, the magnetic polarity changes. And what ends up happening is that we end up with this energy of liberation as things get shook up. Those that are ascended and awakened begin to get liberated from the density of third dimensional living. This is the importance of the ascension process. This is the importance of protecting yourself from rogue frequencies being ingested or being surrounded by those rogue frequencies as much as possible because it begins to interfere in the ascension process. When we say protect your energy, we mean protect your energy in more ways than one. The energy must be protected. This has been, this shall be a time of great light codes, activations. I'm looking at the new moon, potentially. I see another mass situation happening for another great awakening. I think there are a lot of us a lot of people, if we were slightly even paying attention, and as we go to sleep tonight, I want you to really allow yourself to soak up this additional electromagnetic field energy, this coronal, right? This coronal magnetic ejection. I want to say it right. Coronal mass ejection. And let it be injected into your being. And let that energy transmute, transform you. Let this transform your DNA, not something else. I also believe that this frequency will counteract rogue frequencies that potentially have been ingested or placed within, or we have been around. I'm not going to go any further with that, but I think you could pick up what I'm putting down. We're looking towards another awakening, but it will be darker before the dawn. Because as our light shines brighter, as our frequency raises, the polarity, as we shake free and continue to shake free in a greater and greater way from the dense shackles and prison, so to speak, of the third dimensional realm, as we begin to live in higher dimensional truths and being, the dark seems darker. That doesn't mean we don't win. It doesn't mean it's not by design. This doesn't mean that we won't ascend. But this will begin to show as we see those that want to maintain a third dimensional realm on this earth because of their control over it. So we see them more and more in who they truly are. And as humans begin to, more and more are going to wake up to the reality that there is a difference and they have the opportunity. They're going to awaken. They're going to awaken. We have to be here to help them. We have to be ready. And we have to step into who we are very authentically and with a great reality and determination and stop being afraid of it. I go to sleep almost every night and I have a very similar dream sometime during the night. And it is a great hall with a great table with a council. Many councils come together. And some are in tears and some are upset. And some are concerned. Most understand. But they are all desiring for us, humans, to awaken. And for those light workers, star seeds, earth angels, incarnated masters, for us to take our position and stop being afraid. Because we weren't given these abilities for nothing. We weren't given them. We weren't incarnated with them. We didn't choose them. And we made an agreement. We knew what our mission was. And it's moments like these where we are being gifted and given an injection and a coronal mass injection, a collective mass injection into our collective crown chakra of amazing, amazing crystalline energy. The choice is yours. The choice is ours. The choice is yours as an individual. You're going to utilize it. Between now and the 5th, be out in the sun. Between now and the 5th, be out in nature. I don't care if the sun's not shining, get out there. If it's cloudy, doesn't matter. This is electromagnetic energy. But be prepared. Don't lose the faith. Creating a new world, ushering it in fully, was never going to be easy. And remember, it's the darkest before the dawn. It is the darkest before your manifestation. You set your intention in the dark. You think clearly in the dark where you can't see anything else. Your third dimensional sight, as well as your higher dimensional sight, sometimes at the new moon. But definitely the third dimensional sight you can't see. It gets dark, you can't see in front of you. There's no light. There's no moon to reflect. So you cannot reflect on your past. You cannot reflect on your failures. You can only imagine the future and your victory, your success and your abundance. So the message to the ascended and those that are awakening is this: take this all in, get your massive recharge, get your massive upcharge, get your massive download so you can get your massive upgrade, flipping the switches on so many light codes you cannot count. They are innumerable. Turning on chakras within you you did not know existed. Do it. And then at the new moon, when the lights go off, do not look nor expect to be able to see your path. But through inspiration, higher dimensional sight, and the leading of spirit, as messages are given and directions are handed to you via your crown chakra, via all of this information that's being turned on within you, you will know the direction to go. You will know what you are to create. You will know what your intention should be. You are know where to begin the harvest. It is, after all, the harvest moon. This is what you must do. This is what this is here for. But there will be an illumination of the opposite polarity. Expect it. Don't be fearful of it. It's an even greater way for you to understand how far you've come and how high you must go. Doesn't mean that they win. It just means they're beginning to seal their fate. They're making their choice. You move forward. You look up. Looking down and looking back doesn't give you any direction. Beloved, we will see each other again very soon. I hope this message finds you well. I hope it assists you in some small way. We'll gather again before the new moon. Have a blessed and restful night, and we will see you soon. Namaste.